Let's see.
What? Oh, no!
Afternoon and welcome to the November 11th meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with the invocation offered today by Pastor Nathan Fowler, who was born in Warner Robins, Georgia. He received his Master of Theology from Dallas Theological Seminary and Master of Economics from Florida State University. And he has become the senior pastor at Circle Community Church here in Orlando. He's married to his wife, Sarita, for 8 years and is the proud parents of 2 young sons. His ideal morning includes a cool morning walk, which we've been able to have the last couple of days, with his oldest son, and then reading the newspaper and sipping coffee con leche. The invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and very fittingly, today is Veterans Day, and we had a wonderful celebration on Saturday with a Veterans Day parade that was attended by a lot of people, and we were able to honor our veterans and active military. So we're thankful for the members of our community that served our country. And today, City of Orlando Permit Tech Monique Johnson will lead the pledge. She served in the United States Army for 4 years, where she rose to the rank of E4 Specialist and was assigned in Iraq. She was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky as a chemical operations specialist, where she received the National Defense, Iraq Campaign, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary, and Global War on Terrorism medals. If you can stand or remain seated.
Let's pray. Father, I come before you on behalf of the mayor and this council for the sake of this city with great confidence, because your word tells us that prayer for all people is good and welcome before you. So I ask, grant wisdom to these men and women, your servants, who govern this city for the good of its people. Father, they face challenges that I do not know. They are asked to solve intractable problems. They make decisions that affect the lives of so many. What a great burden. Grant them good advisors, creativity, health, and rest. Deliver them from discouragement. Deliver them from loneliness. Deliver them from burnout. Deliver them from pride. Deliver them from greed. Deliver them from hasty action. Deliver them from fearful inaction. Grant them wisdom as they seek to uphold justice, to defend the oppressed, to ensure the safety of every person, to provide access to education, to eliminate homelessness, to end drug overdoses, to provide good jobs, and to steward the environment. We recognize that these are complex issues that have no easy solutions. So in the midst of debate and differing opinions and possible policies, I ask that you grant the mayor and each member of this council humility, compassion, and a willingness to listen, not only with those with whom they agree, but especially in the midst of disagreement. Foster unity, friendship, mutual respect, and teamwork. Grant them a shared vision for Orlando's well-being so that the city and its people may flourish. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan. Here. Commissioner Hill. Here. Commissioner Ings. Here. Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is the consideration of minutes from the agenda review and city council meetings of October 21st, 2019. Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Okay, right into our awards presentations and recognitions, and we have 3 today. Let's begin by recognizing the 2020 Historic Preservation Calendar Photographic Image Contest winners. Richard Forbes, our Historic Preservation Officer.
Good afternoon, Mayor Dyer and Commissioners. The Historic Preservation Board's 2020 calendar photo contest produced a lot of great photos, and we're here today to thank all of them that joined that competition and to showcase the winners. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, McCoy Federal Credit Union, for their continued support and generous sponsorship for both the printing and the photo competition for now 10 years. This is the 10th anniversary of their sponsorship. The Historic Preservation Board has produced a calendar as an educational tool since 1989, and this is the 25th photo competition. The Historic Preservation Board calendar celebrates the historic Mediterranean Revival architecture style throughout the city of Orlando. Mediterranean Revival was a popular style in Florida during the 1920s housing boom. It was used by notable local architects James Gamble Rogers II, Murray King, Sam Stoltz, Ida Ryan, Howard Reynolds, Richard Boone Rogers, and many others. The varied architectural elements such as the barrel tile roof, the arched windows, the parapets, the towers, the mock belfries, were all used and mixed to create unique structures. This versatile style was selected for the train station on Sly Boulevard, the Cherokee School, Grand and Princeton Schools, the 1919 Phillips Theater, and the Roslyn Club. Our competition boundaries stretched the entire city limits, and architectural examples could include any of the subsets of Mediterranean Revival, including Mission, Italian Renaissance Revival, Spanish, Colonial, or Moroccan. And now, the winners. Our cover image was photographed by Rennick Nichols. It's located in the Lake Adair, Lake Concord National Register District at 1005 Edgewater Drive. This was the home of Grace Phillips Johnson. It was designed by David Heyer and constructed in 1928 for $27,500. The 23-room home reflected Mrs. Johnson's appreciation for the arts and originally included 3 large murals by Florida artist Sam Stoltz. This classic Mediterranean Revival home has carved ornamental details, rough textured stucco, undulating parapet walls, low sloping and conical roofs, and the main entry is located in a turret with carved stone detailing and pilasters surrounding the door with a balcony above. The photo for January is by David Billingsley. This is the rear of the cover photo, 1005 Edgewater Drive, which shows the sprawling estate, the Johnson House, and situated on the bank of Lake Concord and facing Lake Adair. Mrs. Johnson called her estate Opoleo, a Seminole phrase meaning house between the waters. She enjoyed views of sunrises on Lake Concord and sunsets over Lake Adair. The home was influenced by Mrs. Johnson's memories of Venice, and architect David Heyer was instructed to retain the existing trees and design the house to harmonize with the natural arrangement. To stabilize the grounds, a seawall constructed, the first in the city. The estate was landscaped by none other than tropical arts founder Mulford Foster, who enhanced the natural beauty of the site. The image for February was captured by homeowner Martin Carmody. Though Mediterranean Revival is often associated with large residence and commercial structures, it is also utilized in styling smaller residences. Built in 1927 with about 975 square feet, 1012 West New Hampshire had 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. The curving wing wall, parapet walls, and arched covered porch are original elements. The 1928 City Directory lists Morris McGuire living here with his wife Mary, who was a sales lady at Brown's Hat Shop. Morris worked as an engraver and photo engineer for the Orlando Reporter-Star publishing company. In 1931, he purchased the engraving plant to establish the Orlando Engraving Company, specializing in commercial work, including yearbooks for the Orlando High School. The March photo was taken by Connor Nichols. 803 Lake Adair Street is located in the Lake Adair Lake Concord National Register District. Constructed in 1927, this large Italian Renaissance Revival residence was designed by Percy Paramore Turner. The distinctive Italianate detailing of this home is evident in the near-symmetrical facade composed of 2 end bays and white wood brackets supporting the large overhanging eaves. Arched casements span the front facade, and a hipped red tile roof accents the white stucco covered in ivy. Ross Wynn, a real estate developer, resided here from 1928 to 1939. The home was later owned by Frank and Edna Ruth Etheridge, and the large E molded into the chimney is likely for the Etheridge family. Retaining its original configuration, this residence is one of the most outstanding in the neighborhood. April's photo was submitted by Stephen Maddow. An Orlando historic landmark since 2016, this home is now known as the Yola House. George Marsh built this structure in 1924. The Florida Master Site file describes it as a mission-style residence with an unusual design. The front porch features twisted columns and stylized Corinthian capitals. It's constructed of clay tile block with a stucco finish and has wood casement and double-hung windows. Recent research revealed that the architect is George Krug. A 1924 article written during construction revealed that Mr. Krug designed the house of the Spanish type with the tile roof, stucco walls, and stone pillars, and that it will be a handsome addition to the community of fine homes around the lake. George Marsh was very influential in the citrus industry and is thought to have created the Marsh seedless grapefruit. The May photo is by Stephen Sebald. 808 Seville Place is located again in the Lake Adair Lake Concord National Register District on a peninsular lot with large shade trees, gardens, fountains, and a view of Lake Concord. The addition of a large central portico with spiral Corinthian columns retained its Mediterranean Revival styling with its low barrel tile roof, casement windows, and stucco walls. The construction started in 1927 by W.N. Reynolds, who was a relative to R.J. Reynolds of the Reynolds Tobacco Company. He was the principal patron of Ben White and encouraged him to establish horse racing in Orlando. He owned several prize-winning horses located at White's Stables and the famous Arrow Point Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. The June photo was taken by Juliana Russo. On April 13, 1928, a building permit was issued to contractor A.E. Arthur for a masonry building to cost $27,000. Built for the Central Christian Church at the corner of Cathcart and Ridgewood in the Lake Yola Heights Historic District, the style is eclectic, loosely based on southwestern 18th century Spanish religious buildings and mission churches. It has an undulating parapet wall with 2 projecting towers with quatrefoil windows and arched openings to represent bell towers found on those historic missions. Left unoccupied in the early 2000s, it fell into neglect and disrepair. In 2012, it was listed on Florida's 11 most endangered historic sites. Fortunately, an adaptive reuse project converted the structure to 5 3-story residential townhomes. It was renamed Samsara, a Sanskrit word for rebirth. In 2016, the renovation was awarded Orlando's Outstanding Residential Project at the annual Historic Preservation Awards. The July photo was taken by Mark Seckman. 1700 West Ivanhoe Boulevard is located in the Lake Ivanhoe National Register District. This house was designed by Richard Boone Rogers for R.C. Coffee, and it exhibits the later refinements of the Mediterranean Revival style. The front facade has 4 bays and a 2-story cylindrical tower and a Palladian window. Constructed in 1937 at a cost of $100,000, the residence had 18 rooms and 7 baths with terrazzo and hardwood floors throughout the 10,000 square foot home. Interior enhancements included magnolia wood paneling and built-ins, stone walls, fine molding, and imported tiles and wrought iron throughout. This was known as one of Orlando's showplaces. The residence was built on a raised mound to overlook Lake Ivanhoe. In 1952, widow Annie Coffey sold the property to Gracia and Martin Anderson. Mr. Anderson was the editor-owner of the Orlando Sentinel and has been credited with convincing state officials to plan I-4 through Central Florida and convincing Walt Disney to open his park here. Photo selected for the month of August was taken by Scott Nichols. 516 Cherokee Drive is a home located in the Lake Cherokee Historic District. A June 7th, 1925, Orlando Sentinel article describes a new home on Cherokee Drive under construction by Allardyce and Allardyce. It describes a home as facing Lake Cherokee of Spanish-type architecture and constructed of stucco over metal lath and having a varicolored Spanish mission tile roof. The home was purchased by Kendrick Guernsey, a real estate investment broker native to Orlando. Allardyce and Allardyce also built the Autry Arcade, the Christian Science Church, and the very house next door to the west, which was owned by Guernsey's sister, Mary. Seen here in detail is the elaborate roof that features the barrel tile roofing material, the curved parapet, and the fanciful finials that you see on the corners, which were a common feature. The September photo was taken by Paul Hennessy, and this is the property next to the one we just saw. And an October 8th, 1928 article in the Orlando Evening Star stated that a building permit for $15,000 was to be issued for a residence for Miss Mary Guernsey, making this one of the handsomest homes in that section of Orlando. As mentioned, her brother Kendrick Guernsey's home was featured in in September and was also designed by the same architects. Mary Guernsey came to Orlando with her parents in 1886, and she lived with them in a house on Lake Yola until their deaths and then built this home. She was an alumna of Rollins College and associated with social and cultural activities in Orlando. The large covered porch and 3 arched openings is unusual for the style, as smaller entry porches were more common. The October photo was taken by Bob Eggleston, and it's located in Lake Copeland Historic District at 205 East Copeland. This house possesses a really high degree of Mediterranean Revival styling with a molded Baroque arch door, a shouldered arch transom over the first floor, French doors, irregular massing, barrel tile roof, scrolled buttresses, chimney, and a tower topped by a mock belfry. This house was designed by James Gamble Rogers II, and it was built in 1927 for Nat Claybaugh, who was a prominent realtor and treasurer of the Florida Association of Real Estate Boards. Rogers is well known in the area and worked as an architect in Central Florida for over 60 years, and his designs included French Provincial, Mediterranean Revival, Tudor Revival, and Spanish colonial styles. He also designed the Florida Supreme Court building in Tallahassee and the Olin Library on the Rollins College campus. We couldn't have a calendar without a train station. November's photo was taken by Darlene Kaiser, and it's been an Orlando landmark since 1978. This station served as the main gateway to Orlando during the 1920s land boom. The Atlantic Coastline hired architect M.A. Griffith to design the Spanish mission-style building and encouraged him to travel to the Pacific coast to study Spanish mission architecture for inspiration. The twin bell towers with decorative domes and all the other details show this influence. The original Mission Revival architectural features remain today, including the heraldic shield and 1926 cartouche. The station is considered the largest and finest example of mission-style architecture in Central Florida and is the only train station in this style in Florida. Since 1927, the station has served as a passenger station for the Atlantic Coastline, Seaboard Coastline, Amtrak, and a stop for Sunrail. Our December photo was captured by Stephanie Conforti. 713 Delaney Avenue is in the Lake Cherokee Historic District. It's known as the Joe McCormick House, and it was built in 1924. Its styling can be attributed to Spanish Eclectic, Italian Renaissance Revival, and the broader Mediterranean Revival, with 2-story masses bookending a 1-story center and an embellished Spanish Rococo entrance. Mr. McCormick reportedly chose this site because of the massive live oak, which is believed to be over 200 years old, and instructed his home to be designed to preserve it. And of course, the tree you can see is still there today. Mr. McCormick was an important builder in Orlando and involved with builder F.A. Peppercorn in contracting and a lumber mill. Together they built the Delaney Elementary School. This home was later owned by long-serving Historic Preservation Board member Jean Burke, who is the mother of Delta Burke, famous for her role in the TV show Designing Women. So Orlando has a wonderful collection of historic Mediterranean Revival architecture. And I want to thank all the photographers who submitted their work, and thank Heather Bonds, our recording secretary and planner, for her research and writing work in this calendar. And I want to thank the Historic Preservation Board members and the members of the Publications Committee. There are boards out front showing all the contestant photographs, and the calendars are available in the rotunda of City Hall. And there are also calendars outside as you exit the council chambers today. We also have calendars at the Orange County History Center and Lou Gardens. Mayor Dyer, would you please join me in presenting the certificates of appreciation, and would Wayne Schneck, our sponsor from McCoy Federal, and the photo contest winners come on down and we will get a photo. This is appreciation for Wayne from McCoy Federal. Went to him. Which one is he? He's right here. This, Jack, right, closest person. What are they afraid of? I don't know why they're all over there.
Okay, next we're going to recognize the 2019 Mayor's Leadership Award recipients. Kevin Edmonds, our interim CAO, will introduce the winners. Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, it is indeed my pleasure to speak to you about the Mayor's Leadership Award, to state the 2019 recipients, and to present my colleagues who will make recognition for each one of them. You know, I wanted to start this off by saying, and strangely enough, I was flying cross country about 5 years ago to Seattle on going to a very exciting planning conference, because that's an exciting topic. And, you know, I kind of got tired of looking at the movies that were the reruns that you normally see. So I pulled out my laptop and I watched a TED Talk on infectious disease and vaccines by an epidemiologist named Seth Berkley. I know you're probably saying, who in the world is Seth Berkley? Kevin, why were you even watching that? Well, I needed a nap. But the incredible thing about it was, this guy was so engaging, and you know, a lot of it was over my head as far as the vaccines and things of that nature, but he's really an incredible person that, among other things, he founded the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative. And as I was sitting there watching this TED Talk, he said something that still kind of resonates with me, and this has been almost 5 years ago. But he talked about leadership, and it wasn't a long, drawn-out thing on leadership, but it was a very concise statement that said something to me. And he said, leadership is about vision and responsibility, not power. And you know, I backed it up and I listened to that again. I started thinking about some of the great leaders that I know, and that's exactly how they were. So this quote is something that I've kept in the back of my mind for a long time now. I try to model it as part of my everyday interactions as I work and everything that I do, because it really shows how the ego really has no place if you're trying to be a leader. So at this time, and with this quote in mind, the Mayor's Leadership Award was created to acknowledge, recognize members of our city family who possess the ability to be an excellent role model, inspire others to work collaboratively and creatively, demonstrate initiative, and to promote a work environment that's respectful and collegial while still supporting the city's mission and demonstrating city pride. It is with great pleasure that I present to you this year and announce the winners of the Mayor's Leadership Award, Lillian Scott Payne, Permitting Division Manager, and Martin Carmody, Budget Division Manager. I'm going to introduce... While I'm not the person who's going to present them to you, I've asked their directors to come up and say a few words about them, their performance, and about these incredible managers that we have here at the City of Orlando. The first person is going to be Brooke Rummer-Bonnet, who's going to present Lillian Scott Payne, and then followed by Christopher McCullion, our CFO, who is going to present Martin Carmody. So, Brooke?
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about Lillian. A lot of you have interacted with Lillian in your role as commissioners as you receive calls and inquiries regarding permit issues. Lillian was appointed as Permitting Services Division Manager in December of 2017, really as a change agent to improve the level of customer service and to focus on streamlining the process for development review and the issuance of permits within our city. And to put it in perspective, the Permitting Services Division in 2018 issued over 36,000 permits and performed over 162,000 inspections. Permit activity in the City of Orlando has increased over 100% since 2010. And so we recognized that we had to figure out new ways of doing things in order to keep up with growth, and Lillian has done just that. In 1.5 years since Lillian's appointment, the Permitting Services Division has transformed the manner in which we serve our customers and deliver on our responsibility to review permit applications, issue permits, and perform inspections. And through her leadership, the Permitting Services Division has implemented a number of changes that have benefited not only our external customers, but also our internal customers and our staff. In 2018, KPMG completed an assessment of the city's development review process, and we reported out on that to you all in, I think, earlier this year, May maybe of this year. And that assessment provided 26 recommendations, and of those 26 recommendations, 22 have been implemented or initiated under Lillian's tenure. Those improvements made include the launch of the Permit Express program, permit and plan review by appointment, the QLES system, which enables customers to get in line from any location or to make an appointment to meet with permit techs, our Select Text program, which allows customers to schedule, cancel, and view inspection results via text message, and simply the elimination of unnecessary permit requirements. So this council, with Lillian's recommendation, eliminated the need for fence permits in a number of circumstances. Today, Lillian is joined by her husband, Roy Payne, and 3 of their 4 daughters. Claire, age 7, who is a 2nd grader at Monarch Learning Academy. Kaylee, who is a senior at Edgewater High School and future member of the UCF women's soccer team. And Kristen, who is a sophomore at UCF and a starting forward of the UCF women's soccer team. Their daughter Eleanor is a senior at Boone, and could not be here today due to a test, which is really not nice. And in addition to her family, Lillian is also joined by a number of members of the Permitting Services team. And I would like to ask them, she could not have achieved everything that she's achieved without their support. So I'd like to ask them to stand to be recognized or wave. Okay, am I supposed to do that? Got it, okay. So Lillian, here's the big award. It's not a leg lamp.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I have the privilege of introducing Martin Carmody, recipient of the 2019 Mayor's Leadership Award. I'm going to ask Martin to come up and stand next to me for a second. Martin is wearing a calculator necktie. I want to make sure it gets on camera. And zoom in tight on the necktie. Thanks for that. Sure. Happy to help. Martin joined the city in 2012, and he currently serves as the city's budget division manager. In that role, he leads the management and budget division, which is responsible for working with our city departments to develop the city's $1.4 billion operating and capital budget, and ensuring that during the year the city stays within its financial means. I am proud of the work that the budget office does, and Martin will be the first to tell you that he has a great team that does much of the heavy lifting. But Martin is the leader of that team, and so he sets the vision and the expectations and make sure that we're providing a strong level of customer service and excellence. And that's a responsibility that he takes seriously every day. Martin's team members would tell you that Martin is a fair leader who exemplifies democratic leadership. They would say that he asks for input and feedback before making important decisions, and that he fosters a high level of employee engagement and workplace satisfaction. They would say he challenges his team to be creative and innovative, to work hard, and to provide great customer service. And they would say that he does that by leading by example. Martin shows dedication and commitment to the city every day. And I know that he is guided by his strong commitment to honesty, integrity, and personal and professional excellence. And he instills those same qualities in his team. In short, Martin exemplifies the city's commitment to excellent public service. Martin was nominated for this award by his budget team. Budget team, raise your hands. In their nomination submission, the budget office team said that Martin has a strong ability to motivate and develop his staff. One of the ways he has done this is by having his team go out and experience how the budget affects city operations. Martin had his staff go on field trips to various city departments and to community organizations, including a visit with the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness, a ride-along with the Orlando Police Department, tours of several fire stations, a trip to the Iron Bridge Water Reclamation Plant, a visit to the city's Yola office, and they even did a group trip on Sunrail and used bike share to experience getting around downtown by bicycle. So these were simple but really effective ways of developing his team and equipping them with the knowledge to be better public servants. These outings helped Martin's team of budget analysts better understand the needs of the city's operating departments and got each of them thinking about how they can help the city's operating departments achieve their objectives. So I'm very proud of the work that Martin and his team do each and every day. I'm grateful for Martin's leadership and commitment to serving the residents of our city beautiful. Thank you, Martin. Congratulations for this recognition. Martin's here with his parents.
Okay, and our final presentation relates to National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, and I'm going to ask Marcia, our Chief Service Officer and Director of Office of Community Affairs, to introduce the block.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Today we have several of our partners who address hunger and homelessness with us here in City Council Chamber. However, Martha R. is the CEO of the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness and the Homeless Services Network. You are very familiar, I know, with both of these organizations because they conduct the strategic planning for homelessness across the region. Martha has been working on the front lines of homelessness since 1986. I almost mixed that up, Martha. Not 68, 86.
And it is here now, and she's here now to share the importance of this week of hunger and homelessness before Mayor Dyer reads the proclamation. Martha?
I'm thinking I look pretty good for having started work in 1968. I'm feeling better. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to be here. Good afternoon. Yes, the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness, with the assistance of HSN, is responsible for setting policy and creating a regional strategic plan that prioritizes services for homeless people. And Mayor Dyer, I want to thank you for your leadership in getting that commission going, establishing it, and for serving on it for these years. And City Council, I want to thank you for your support and your investment in these initiatives and these programs. I don't know if Thomas Chapman's in the room. I want to thank him for serving on the as the HSN board chair this year. But as it relates to this proclamation of Hunger and Homelessness Week, I am really pleased that according to our annual count, you know that we do this point in time count every year, for our annual count, we continue to see a slight decrease in the number of homeless people. We've gone down more than 10% since I've been here in a little 4.5 years or so. We believe this is in large part because of our region's focus on housing first, which you've heard a couple of times before, and in using a housing-focused system. Our Housing the First 100 goal became housing more than 300 and permanent supportive housing. Those are chronically homeless people who would have, who we help to get off the streets and out of campsites, out of shelter, and into stable homes. The community evaluation for that project will be completed soon, and we will be back to you to talk about that. But just as importantly, when combining the numbers of the other literally homeless persons that this region has served, the providers, the folks around this room have worked together. We have placed more than 1,800 literally homeless people into permanent housing just in the last 12 months, which I just think is amazing work in this region, just incredible, more than 1,800 people. You know how challenging the market is here. So that speaks well of the collaboration and the work that's done here. So today I want to join others who are here because no one should have to worry about whether or not they will have food on their table or a roof over their head. But the reality is that hunger and homelessness are widespread problems that affect too many people. And what is good to know is that you all join the group here in making sure that we stay committed to helping and addressing those issues. So a quick thank you to John Hearn and his staff at the Coalition for seeking out this proclamation. And then also my other colleagues are here, Chantal and Eric and Michael and the good captain and others around this room and our fine commissioner. I want to thank you for the work that you do for making this effort happen, and we will continue to see good things together. So thank you for joining us today.
I want to thank all the providers and volunteers and everybody involved in the issue of homelessness, and I want to read this proclamation. Whereas each year the month of November is recognized as National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Month, and the week before Thanksgiving is designated as National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. And whereas with its partners, the City of Orlando joins with communities across the United States to bring greater understanding and awareness to the realities of hunger and homelessness. And whereas our community is committed to helping our neighbors in need and is continuing to work to ensure that every Orlando resident thrives. And whereas the City of Orlando is grateful for the many organizations and residents who are working to fight hunger and to break the cycle of homelessness, making it rare, brief, and a one-time event, including the compassionate groups that are members of our city's not-for-profit community, their staff, volunteers, and boards. And whereas during the week, the community is encouraged to wear purple and promote awareness of hunger and homelessness, and most importantly, of how each one of us can make a difference in the lives of our neighbors in need. Now, therefore, I, Buddy Dyer, Mayor of the City of Orlando, do hereby proclaim November 16th through the 24th as Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week in the City of Orlando. Why don't we have everybody that's involved in this issue in any way come up? Let's do a photograph. Okay, we're going to move on to the mayor's update, and I'm going to begin with Commissioner Gray, who had a birthday last Wednesday on the 6th. Will you please join me in wishing him a happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Commissioner. Happy birthday to you. So we only have one commission meeting this month and one commission meeting next month, and it is after December 6th. So I have a couple items I'm going to mention that you're going to think, why is he mentioning something on November 30th or December 6th? That's the reason. So after Thanksgiving on Saturday, November 30th, we have Small Business Saturday, and I would like to encourage you to go out and patronize our small locally owned businesses, shop in our Main Street districts. I last year for Christmas was able to do all of my holiday shopping on Edgewater Drive and Ivanhoe, so in two of our Main Street districts. And I'm going to try to do that again, and I encourage others to at least try to set a percentage that you would like to do in our main streets. And then our Christmas tree lighting celebration will be back at Lake Yola Park on December 6th from 5 to 9. We have a 72-foot Christmas tree decorated with 160,000 LED bulbs. We always have a great time with music and lights. I want to mention one thing off of the agenda, actually two. B7 is a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies. We're joining a large number of states and cities and counties across America that are trying to deal with the crisis of opioid abuse, and this is one small way that we can do that. The other item that I will mention is we are going to establish I assume we are, if council approves it, we're going to establish a scooter share pilot program, but we will have a presentation on that under Ordinances first read when we get to that. And then we will be having a runoff election in District 6, so I'd like the city clerk to update us on that.
Sure, the runoff election for District 6 is scheduled for Tuesday, December 3rd. You can vote three ways: vote by mail, early voting, and voting at the polls. Vote by mail ballots can be picked up or delivered from the Supervisor of Elections office. The deadline to request a vote by mail ballot to be mailed to you is 5 p.m. on November 23rd. You can go to the Orange County Supervisor of Elections website at ocfelections.com to request a vote by mail ballot online, by fax, or by email. You can track the status of your vote by mail ballot online. You can also pick up a vote by mail ballot in person no later than 5 p.m. on December 2nd, the day before the runoff election, which is December 2nd, at the Supervisor Elections Office, which is 119 West Cayley Street. A designee can also pick up a vote by mail ballot for another voter within 9 days before the election. However, there are limits and restrictions on designees, so please go to the Orange County Supervisor of Elections website at ocfelections.com for more information on this. For your vote to count, the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office must receive your voted, signed vote by mail ballot no later than 7 p.m. on Election Day, December 3rd. Postmarks do not count. Early voting will take place the week before Thanksgiving, so that's next week, beginning on Thursday and Friday, November 21st and 22nd, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., on Saturday, November 23rd, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., on Sunday, November 24th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then again on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the week of Thanksgiving, November 25th, 26th, and 27th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office at 119 West Cayley Street. And finally, voting on Election Day, which is Tuesday, December 3rd, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can view your sample ballot if you're in District 6 and check your polling place location by going online at ocfelections.com. Just click on the City of Orlando Runoff election link, which is located on the homepage. The Office of Communications will be coordinating the swearing in of the newly elected officials who will take office on the second Monday in January, which is January 13th.
So that last thing, public needs to understand that new terms for 2, 4, 6, and mayor don't begin until January 13th. I've had a few people that thought maybe they were starting today or in the next couple of weeks, but it will be January the 13th. Okay, let's move to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda are a number of items acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our commissioners an opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda and update you on important happenings in their districts. We rotate the order that we do that, and first up today is Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I want to congratulate our Historic Preservation Board and the calendar. I have a question. I saw that on October 13th, they have Left-Handers Day. Whatever happened with the Right-Handers Day? Anyhow.
364 of them. Very good.
I like that. I like that. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But anyhow, on Tuesday, October 22nd, I flew to Washington, D.C. for a Florida League of Cities fast flying. Along with 42 other local leaders, we met with members of the Florida Congregational Delegation and advocated for federal issues affecting our municipalities, such as infrastructure, CDBG, fast money, cybersecurity, municipal website compliance with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act, reauthorization of the National Flood Insurance Program, and the federal preemption of small cells infrastructure deployment. It was a great, great meeting with our delegation in Washington. Well, I'm not going to say anything else about that. It was a good meeting on our behalf. I think we left them with a great message. I just wish they had the same kind of unity that we have at the local level in terms of how things get done in Washington, but I'm not going to say anything else about Washington. That's it. It was a good flight. On Tuesday, October 29th, we teamed up with the Orange County Clerks of Courts, the Orlando Police Department, Mental Health Association of Central Florida, and Harbor House for the Clerks Against Domestic Violence workshop. October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it's important that we continue the efforts of bringing attention to the mental and physical damage of such wrongdoings. I can say enough about that. It's a tragedy, the kind of abuses we see out there happening every day. If you know something, if you know of this happening, please inform the authorities. We need to address this issue. We need to put an end to this. On Tuesday, November 5th, we ended our Government Academy with a presentation on the judicial system courtesy of the Honorable 9th Judicial Circuit Court Judge Gisela Laurent. We're excited for our graduation, which is about a couple of weeks away. On Wednesday, November 6th, Streets and Stormwater came to Dover Shores Neighborhood Center to inform residents about the upcoming Lido Street project. I want to thank Ms. Lisa Henry, as usual. Her and her team did a great job presenting to the community. We have other meetings coming up. The community was very happy to hear from us, and they're always delighted to see about projects before they come to fruition. Saturday was the 244th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! So for those of you that have family members that serve in the Marines, and for those of you that are in the Marines, and for those of you who had retired from the Marines, congratulations. It's a great day to celebrate in our nation. I also want to salute all the members of the proud and honorable United States military. We owe each and every one of you our freedoms. Our country is filled with promise for tomorrow because our history has been shaped by heroes. Happy Veterans Day. On the agenda, please record a no vote on agenda item F3. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me also, on Veterans Day, extend heartfelt thanks to all of our veterans. We are here because of you, and we're grateful for that. Saturday was a great event. Those who missed it missed a good opportunity. We had 5 grand marshals. All of them were veterans of World War II, and 2 of them actually were on D-Day, which was really fascinating to listen to those guys speak and talk about how wonderful our country is and what they accomplished. It's a great, it will inspire you on every occasion. A couple of upcoming events, but before I get there, let me say a special, okay, they aren't here, congratulations to Martin and Lillian. Appreciate the work that they do. They've always been, oh, there's Lillian, she snuck in. Always been the highest professional and concerned not only with doing their job, but also serving our citizens. So I want to say thank you very much for that. And of course, National Hunger and Homelessness Week. It's an honor to serve our community, these people who care so much. I get a chance to leave here and spend time with them, and I love doing that, so thank you for that. On upcoming events, the College Park Neighborhood Association is hosting their first scavenger hunt this weekend on Saturday afternoon, November 6th. They'll be testing teams at the 32804 area. It'll start at one end of Edgewater Drive and end at the other end for a party when it's all over. So please come and join us. It's at mycpna.org. Lou Gardens is having Nature of the Game exhibit. It'll open up November 16th and run through April 5th. It's an interactive experience, taking childhood games and turning them into fun discoveries about the wonders of nature. Heartfelt thanks go out to our presenting sponsor, Lando Health, Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children, and many other supporting sponsors. Please come out and enjoy that. Ivanhoe Village Annual Jingle Eve is taking place on Saturday, November 23rd. It's the official opening of the holiday of the shopping season in Orlando. Starts at 5 o'clock on that Saturday. But the night before, we'll be opening up, turn on the Happy Holidays blinking light along Edgewater, on the OUC building. And I love the opportunity that we do that, but more importantly, I get a chance to say thank you to each one of you, commissioners and mayor, for stepping up several years ago when we had the opportunity to restore the project. And I think it's a great symbol to the people coming into our community. So I want to say thank you all for your help again and enjoy that. And as the mayor said, Saturday, November 30th is a small business Saturday. So please take a chance to do that. And last but not least, congratulations, Mayor, on your reelection. And congratulations to Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Sheehan for their reelection by mandate by the community, and looking forward to continuing to serve on the canvassing board. A special thanks to Denise, you and your staff, for the work that you did. Appreciate it. You and Natasha and all the rest that were involved. So Lori, and I won't remember all the names, but thank you to all of you for the work that you did. We had a very smooth meetings. Which is indicative of being well planned, well organized, and I appreciate your work in that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Congratulations, and I'm sure Commissioner Ortiz, you're glad to be back too. So it's. I had to work a little bit harder than Commissioner Ortiz, though. I was opposed and unopposed. It was kind of a crazy roller coaster, but I'm glad to be back. I was at the Veterans Day Parade too, and I was sitting behind the 4 gentlemen pilots that were World War II veterans. And I was struck by how poised they were and how proud they were to stand up and salute the flag, even though it was painful for many of them to stand. And they still did so, and they did so with great pride. And it really got me emotional standing behind them, seeing them do that, because it was really meaningful to them. And they played down, they were joking about the honor, but I know they felt very honored, and that was a very special moment, Mayor. Thank you for including me in that. And thank you for all the veterans for your service, especially my Uncle Martin Delfino. On the agenda today, we have item A2 and 3, Home Depot and UCF sponsorship of the Paramore Community Garden. I'm only saying that because that's my alma mater, Commissioner Hill, and I'm glad to see them getting very, very involved in the community. Oh, and Small Business Saturday, also have to put a plug in for Curry Ford West, Thornton Park, Mills 50, and Soto, so please patronize those as well on Small Business Saturday. There was an agenda item today that has been pulled, but I just wanted to make a statement about affordable housing, what we've been trying to do at this council. We've been talking about inclusionary zoning and working with Orange County, figuring out a way to provide more affordable housing, and not just more affordable housing, but true affordable housing for people that are really in need. And it's very frustrating that we got preempted again at the legislative level. It's ridiculous that we cannot work at the local level to provide affordable housing without the Florida legislature finding some way to preempt us. And the way that it came about was Mayor Demings was trying to have some developers in to talk about how we can provide affordable housing, and some of the builders went to the legislature and preempted us again. It's just very frustrating when we're trying to find ways to solve local issues that we can't provide affordable housing, and the legislature, who is actually raiding the Sadowski Fund, which is meant to be for affordable housing, raids the funds and then won't let us work to provide affordable housing at the local level. And I think we have to do more. We have to call them out when they're doing the wrong thing. And I want to applaud our housing department for trying to do the right thing, and also our planning department for trying to do the right thing. But I'm going to call it out when I see it, because I was talking to staff about how we could assist Commissioner Hill with providing this affordable housing, and they said, well, we've already been preempted. And I just think that's wrong. So again, we need to do better. Our legislature needs to do better, because not everybody's a millionaire like they are, and some people need affordable, safe places to live. And that's that. I'm glad to see on item I-5, the recycling partnership grant with multifamily housing, and a recycling coordinator who's going to be hired to work on that. And I'm a little bit leery about the scooters. I want to make sure that we are not blocking wheelchair and disabled access. That's something that's really impacted the elderly community in downtown Orlando and the high rises. That's the one thing that I ask as we move forward, that we make sure that these scooters are properly stored, and that my seniors who are in wheelchairs and walkers are able to get around just because someone doesn't care enough to leave these in the proper place. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on to Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. On October 23rd, myself and Mayor Dyer stood here in the Rotunda and received a $75,000 grant along with Urban League to roll out our Blueprint program along with Career Source that will now bring training to all the residents here in the city of Orlando, where they'll be offered over 100+ vocational training or certificates program. And so I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for assisting with that, because as we talk about affordable housing, we have to talk about living wages, because there's just a few very low income units available, and you have to at least make $17,000 to $20,000. And Mayor Dyer and council was able to grant us additional $125,000, whereas these residents go to take these certificate programs, we can give them $125 a week stipend, which will help close the gap towards child care, gas, transportation, and many of the obstacles that prevent folks from being able to go to school for 5 to 22 weeks. And later that evening, we were able to graduate the 20 students from our patient care program, which is under our Blueprint program, and they were able to receive 5 certificates. One was phlebotomy, patient care tech, CNA, home health aide, and the patient care tech, which they were able to dispense meds in the homes. So I was very excited about that. Many of those students, it was transformational in their lives, because many of them have been told that they can't complete anything. So to see their children and their husbands and their wives there and their family members coming out to celebrate their success. It was a 18-week program, but we were able now to give them jobs in the healthcare industry to where they'll make at least $15 an hour, and many of them are already talking about going on to nursing school. So I was really happy about that. Myself and Mayor Dyer on, it's going to sound like Commissioner Hill, Mayor Dyer Day today. So on 10/28, another program that the mayor under Lisa Early and Rodney Williams' leadership, we have now started a music production program, an internship program. The mayor and I went out to KDS-1 Studios here in District 6, Rio Grande, area where the kids will train over at the Jackson Center and the Northwest Center, and they'll learn how to become recording engineers, how to edit, how to become videographers, and then after they complete that course, they will then transition over to KDS-1, and we'll pay them to become interns there, where they'll be actually working with real recording artists. When me and the mayor went there, that is a Grammy Award-winning studio where they have MTV Awards and also Grammys. I'm so excited about that. And they also will learn about finances when they get these contracts, because as you know, many recording artists don't have control of their records, and the labels actually make more money than the artists. So we're going to teach them how to negotiate their contracts so they won't be broke recording artists. It's the truth. It happens. That was one of the guys that was there that recorded "Whoop There It Is" and "Tootsie Roll." Yeah. You guys know that. That's like a 90s tune. But he said they sold over 65 million copies or albums, but they didn't make $100,000 off it. And now he's volunteering his time to come back to the community where he grew up to make sure that the recording artists and these folks have strategies as they produce beats and music. Then on 10/30, not 10:30 in the morning, but October the 30th, myself and Mayor Dyer graduated 15 students from the Valencia Accelerated Skills Training Program in downtown Creative Village, Paramore. It was really exciting. 65% of those students came from the 32805, 32801 zip code. And that was a 5 and 10 week program, and they'll be going out to work at Amazon, Lockheed Martin, Walmart, and make from $15 to $28 an hour. Yes, so on 11/04, I hosted the annual Classic Weekend Community Meeting, and I'd like to thank Chief Verlone and his staff for coming out to address some of the concerns during Classic Weekend from our residents there in the west side of Orlando, Corey Keith from Code Enforcement, Chris Carnes, and Captain Deshawn, and Marcia Ross from Permitting was there. So we could talk about vending opportunities, not from the city, but how to be properly permitted. It was very productive. We had about 50 to 60 residents out that evening, and folks walked away pleased that some of their answers relating to traffic, congestion, were answered. On 11/6, myself and Gennaro Coulter and his group, along with Urban League, came out to the Jackson Center and talked about the Blueprint 2.0, and it was a recruiting session. We had over 100 participants that came out that evening, wanting to know more about how they can get certificate training. Career Source was there, who will be providing tuition. We had Valencia also there, and the Central Florida Urban League and Southern Technical Institute. And I'd like to thank the Usler Group on November the 7th. They came out to the Paramore area to talk about some of the opportunities there in the Creative Village, from Franklin Street Realtors, from additional financials, Platinum Parking, Vera Asian was there, Dunkin' Donuts, Subway, Qdoba Mexican Grill. And I'd like to thank Brooke Myers and Kathy DeVault for helping the office coordinate this, which we know there at that Creative Village, there's going to be great opportunities coming, and that was our first event there to introduce all the opportunities there in Creative Village for all, but primarily focus on Paramore and those residents. So thank you, Craig. And Craig was also there, and that's huge for me. Most times we have developers and they'll send their surrogates, and to have the developer there themselves to engage with the community. And you have been a man of your word from day one as we continue to move Paramore forward with the Creative Village. They say Creative Village downtown, I say Creative Village Paramore development. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to Commissioner Ings.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is Veterans Day, and I want to thank all of the veterans and salute our veterans. And am I? Okay. Today is Veterans Day, and I want to thank and salute our veterans and their families. Thank you for your service. And I also attended the Veterans Day Parade on Saturday. It was a fantastic parade. And also rode, and I think it was a 1931 Ford, which was a great vehicle. So that was a great event, and I really enjoyed that very much. I'd also like to say congratulations to Jacqueline Cockerham, my aide, for receiving her 5-year pin and certificate for rendering 5 years of valuable and faithful service to the city of Orlando, and it was signed by Mayor Buddy Dyer. Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Also on Sunday, October 27th, I attended the Rathman 45th anniversary celebration and presented proclamations to Rathman Freddie L. Moore and Rathman James E. King Sr. This event was held at the Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church on Plant Street in Winter Garden, Florida. And on Monday, October 28th, I attended and brought greetings at the National 90th General Assembly Church of the Living God conference that was held in Orlando, Florida. Apostle Dr. Carlton Williams of the National Tabernacle Church of the Living God in District 6 was the host pastor, and this conference was held at the Doubletree by Hilton at SeaWorld. And on Friday, November 1st, I attended the Healthcare Alliance Care to Care benefit concert, which was coordinated by and sponsored by Dr. Fashonda Cooks. She's the president and CEO of Healthcare Access Alliance. This event was held at the St. John's Missionary Baptist Church there at 30 Fred L. Maxwell Boulevard in Orlando, Florida. And at that event, I received the Community Champion Award from the Healthcare Access Alliance. And then on Saturday, November 2nd, I attended the 2019 Mental Health Youth Summit that was hosted by the Orlando Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Allison Hamilton invited me to this event. The Omega Psi Phi fraternity, the Chi Tau chapter, Men of Omega assisted during this event. This event talked about mental health with our youth in middle school and high school. Yeah, telling who I am. So middle school and senior high school. And Attorney Ben Crump was their guest speaker at this event, and it was very impactful because the parents attended with their youth. And then on Saturday, also November 2nd, I attended and gave greetings at the Youth Central Connection, Fight Like Francis, Breast Cancer and Awareness, that was held at the Dr. James R. Smith Center on Bruton Boulevard. This event was coordinated and sponsored by Charles Morse, Youth Central Connection. And then also on that Saturday, November 2nd, I attended the 99th birthday celebration for Mother Susie Mitchell, and I presented her proclamation. The event was held at her son's church, Bishop Eddie Mitchell's church, which is on South Orange Blossom Trail. And then on Friday, November 8th, I attended the Veterans Honors program that was held at Lake Highland Preparatory School at 901 Highland Avenue in Orlando. The theme was with honor to the vets. Vice Admiral Alfred Harms Jr. is the president of Lake Highland Prep, and Pat Williams of the Magic was the guest speaker. Also, my police liaison, Officer Landon Thomas, was there at the event, and he, a veteran, went on stage and was recognized by all of the veterans at that event. So that was a great event. The young people at Lake Highland Prep, they were just really gorgeous. Very helpful as you entered and very helpful as you left. All of the classes within Lake Highland Prep, they had over 500 students that participated in that program through the arts program, singing, dancing, and even a magic show. So I got a couple upcoming events. Tuesday, November 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I will have my District 6 annual Seniors Thanksgiving Luncheon. This will be held at the L. Claudia Allen Center, Senior Center, at 1840 Mabel Butler Avenue in Orlando, Florida. And then on Friday, November 29th at 6 p.m., I will have the 10th District Annual Seniors Thanksgiving Concert. And this is a concert that I have put on for the past 10 years for our seniors. And I also give them awards, generally about 7 of them awards for their service to our community. And many of the seniors are in their 80s and 90 years old. So Luther Barnes and the Sunset Jubilaires will be the main guest artists, and we'll have local artists, the Faithful Few, the Creightons, Apostle O'Meal Reed, TJ Bristol and POP, CMT Band, and Truth by Fire Praise Team. And on the agenda, item C6, recommended approval for the Aquasol PD amendment and Phase 1 SPMP. I'd just like to say that a community meeting was held, reference this, and most of the attendees, all of the attendees were from Tangelo Park, and over 200 people actually attended this meeting. Also, Orange County Commissioner Victoria Siplin of District 6 attended the meeting as well. The applicant was represented by Heather Isaacs, who did an outstanding job in conducting this meeting and moving this meeting along and making sure that the people's questions were answered. The one good thing I would say about this particular meeting, and that is that most of the people, all of the people that attended were residents of Tangelo Park, but they're not residents of the city of Orlando. And the one cool thing about that was we listened to the people of Tangelo Park. They also came to the Municipal Planning Board and spoke concerning this issue. And that was a great thing. And we were just letting them know that though you're not residents of the city of Orlando, you are our neighbors. And so we respected them. And it was a great meeting. So I want to thank Ms. Isaacs because she addressed all of the speakers' concerns. I also addressed their concerns. Michael Pition, planner number 3, was there as well to address their concerns. And then on item F3, concerning the Community Development Block Grant funding agreement between the City of Orlando and Hannibal Square Community Land Trust Incorporated, I'm going to be voting no on item F3. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Gray.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be brief. I'll save the comments on activities in the neighborhood. They're on my website. I want to get right to the agenda because we talked at it, and it's item F3. We've talked about it at length at agenda review, but I must say, folks, in my 7+ years on council, I think this is one of, if not the most important issue we've talked about. And the reason I say that is because it has nothing to do with the project. It has nothing to do with the amount of money. It has everything to do with honesty and transparency, which I think should be a core value that we have as a council. I think that's what our residents expect of us. And I went to great lengths today to share my experience on this issue with specifics so that folks could look for themselves. And briefly, on May 13th, the executive director of Hannibal Land Trust appeared before this council at a public hearing. In that hearing, she made a representation of her trust financial condition. I've been asking for 6 months of her board members, and our staff was fully aware of my need to say, look, if you make a representation, just prove it. That seems fair. That seems transparent. And that should be, I think, a core value. In 6 months, nothing has been produced other than a single email describing a couple of lots that the land trust owned. Look, you can go on guidestar.org, which is a website for not-for-profits, and you can see the financial info. The financial info, granted it's 2017, there's nothing more current, is half of the number that was represented by the executive director. So my request was, educate me, tell me what I'm missing, show me that you have the financial wherewithal that you represented to the council. And nothing's happened. But yet, and I shared that this morning, but yet we have 4 people on this council that appear to have said, hey, the end justifies the means. Maybe somebody misrepresented, hasn't shown us anything, but that's okay. We're going to look the other way because we want to do this. And look, I'm all for affordable housing. I'm supporting the other 2 items on the CBG request and things in the past. But guys, it's a core value. We cannot allow people to come to a public hearing and misrepresent themselves, and then given the opportunity to correct themselves, either by showing information or just admitting they made a mistake, and they don't do that, those are not folks that share my common values, and I hope they wouldn't of our citizens. So I have said before, and I'm going to do it again, we should not support F3, and I'm disappointed that the council is agreeing to do it, but I've said my piece. So, Mayor, with that, I will move the agenda with the objections noted.
Okay, and we deleted, or I'm sorry, not deleted, deferred an item from the MPB minutes, which was ZON 2019-10023, the DXV Central project.
And I second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Are there any students here today visiting in chambers? No?
Yes.
If you are, please stand up and we'd like to welcome you. Just one. Okay. Okay, let's move to hearings ordinances, second reading, number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2019-44, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Beltway Commerce Center Plan Development Zoning District to allow recreational vehicles storage and vehicle trailer parking on Site G of the plan development, providing for additional conditions, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2.
Ordinance 2019-49, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating .56 acres of land generally located west of Narcoossee Road, north of Central Florida Greenway, and south of Lake Nona Boulevard as planned development on the city's official zoning maps, and adding said land into the Nona Village Center Plan Development District, amending the development plan for the Nona Village Center Plan Development District, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance 2019-53, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain property generally located north of Hoffner Avenue, south of Van Road, and west of Volusia Drive, and comprised of 1.105 acres of land, more or less, and amending the city's boundary description, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as office low intensity on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as the office and residential district with the aircraft noise overlay district on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, ordinances on first read, Madam Clerk. Number 1.
Ordinance 2019-45, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Poitras East Plan Development Zoning District to increase the non-residential development program, amend the legal description, and amend the development plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Anyone from the public like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And number 2.
Ordinance 2019-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for approximately 5.26 acres of land generally located south of Lake Beauty, west of South Orange Avenue, north of Pennsylvania Street, and east of Cole Avenue from office medium intensity in part and mixed-use corridor medium intensity in part to urban activity center, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 3.
Ordinance 2019-57, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Lake Nona Plan Development Zoning District to remove approximately 0.58 acres of land generally located south of Laureate Boulevard, west of Narcousie Road, and north of the Poitras East Plan Development, providing for an amended legal description, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Anyone from the public like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4.
Ordinance 2019-59, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending and restating the Plan Development Zoning District for the Aquasol Plan Development, generally located north of Vanguard Street, south of Oak Ridge Road, east of International Drive, and west of the Florida Turnpike, comprised of approximately 78 acres, changing the name of the plan development to the International Drive Resort Community Plan Development, amending the definition of commercial dwelling units for this plan development, amending the Plan Development District's development standards, development plan, and conditions of development, directing amendment of the official zoning maps series, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone that would like to testify? I do have one card, Luana Gelser.
Orlando zip 32835. When it comes to this particular project, I'm very concerned about, because it's city and county. I was at several other meetings, and I was even at the October 15th meeting when the room was packed with people from Tangelo Park. And I have looked, and I'm still looking to see if their recommendations were heard or not. But the main concern I spoke on was, because Vanguard is literally in the county, and because the people who are facing that trees, that forestry of 78 acres, I felt like we cannot continue to tear down trees for the benefit of new development. And my suggestion was, they had originally had an 8 to 10 foot fence. My suggestion was to have a livable wall, to have a curved wall because of the sound. But more so at the end, I made the suggestion that the developer take in consideration what was done on John Young with Frito-Lay. You can drive by Frito-Lay every day on John Young, and you really don't know they're there because they was cautious and they was careful of what they did. And they left in place mature trees, not a wall, mature trees. What you need to understand with the increase of traffic and what is happening to our community is air quality. And it seems like we have additional traffic in communities, especially of color, and no one links the air quality or the poor air quality to health issues. There's a lot of seniors that live out there. So if they could at least, I made the suggestion, the staff didn't see anything that they could, you can't make people do anything, but you can ask. Instead of tearing down every single tree, leave a row of trees up so the people who are facing on Vanguard now don't have to just look at a wall, but they can still look at trees, a line of trees, mature trees. And that's something the community was all for. So instead of tearing all 78 acres down, at least leave up a row of trees, build the wall behind it so it looks friendly to our Orange County neighbors. And it's not something we just go in and tear down trees. For this to be the city beautiful, I laugh. I'm laughing. And I'm laughing because when it comes to what you want as a commissioner, especially these developers, if it's in an urban community, I see the will of whatever we want, we do. Tear them down, I don't care. 3,200 trees on the wetlands off of John Young. You're flipping the packing district, you're saying how great, but how many of you know that the people that lives on W.D. Judge now and every place else have to get flood insurance? How do you know? Because you didn't go back. Because they're in the county. That's the county. So your effects of what you're doing is affecting our neighbors. And I'm concerned that once you tear that down, the influx of mosquitoes, the site, what people have looked at for years. And then in closing, I just want to say, I can't stop you from doing, but can we save our mature trees? Stop planting some trees in front of a wall and think that's enough. It's not. It's not enough. And I constantly see it always happening in urban communities or predominantly African American communities. And so also in that meeting, I came before you when you was changing the ordinance from 1,000 feet on alcohol to 300 feet of notice. And I said, give me an example of where this can happen anywhere else throughout the district. And the next day, literally after y'all city council vote, what was on the agenda? To have alcohol sale at 1032 West Robinson Street in Paramore, which is less than 50 feet from a church. Less than 50 feet from a church. I drove by it. There's not even parking space. So how can we award them this? What I'm saying is there's consequences on your decisions to the community. It might sound okay when they make the presentation, but go back and check. Some of us do check, and it's not pretty what is happening to our community. Thank you, Mayor Dyer and Council.
Okay, we do have one more request. Heather Isaacs.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Heather Isaacs with Poulos and Bennett representing the applicant. My address is 2602 East Livingston Street. I appreciate the speaker's concerns, and we are going to do a tree survey to find out if any of those trees are mature and healthy enough to save. But we do have a wall planned along Vanguard Street that also has landscaping on the exterior side so that faces Tangelet Park. So we feel like we've made sufficient contributions to the landscaping there, and we will be doing a tree survey to see if anything's healthy enough to save. I'm here for any other questions.
Any questions for Ms.
Yeah, let me
Isaacs?
ask a question. Heather, the tall buildings, will they be right on Vanguard or will they be tearing down?
No, sir. The tall buildings will be in the middle of the property, and then there's going to be two-story single-family homes, or that appear to be single-family homes, and then townhome-style development adjacent to Vanguard Street. 2 stories as well.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about the emergency
Egress?
vehicle egress?
Sure. Originally, there was, as part of the proposal, the city was requesting access onto Vanguard Street, which would have put potentially some traffic through the Tangelo Park neighborhood. After speaking with the residents and hearing their concerns at the community meeting, and also speaking with Orange County, we are limiting any access to Vanguard Street to being emergency only. So there will not be any visitors to this property that could go through Tangelo Park through Vanguard Street.
Would you want to comment on the minimum buffer of 20 feet?
Right, so we have 20 feet on the southern property line, which borders Vanguard Street. There will be landscaping on the outside of the wall that faces Vanguard Street, as well as sidewalk.
And this wall will be a solid wall, right?
Absolutely, it'll be a solid masonry wall, nothing with foam that can get easily damaged, and it will be owned and maintained by a property owners association.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, and number 5.
Ordinance 2019-60, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to bicycling and motorized scooters, substantially amending Chapter 10, Orlando City Code, entitled Bicycles and Bicycle Paths, to allow scooter sharing services and to revise the current bike share provisions to ensure consistency, providing legislative findings, definitions, penalties, and for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. Okay, we have had great success with our bike share programs, especially the dockless bike share programs. And nationally, a lot of the providers of the bikes have moved towards scooters. We had resisted that effort for some time, but it looks like the bike share providers are going to be pulling bikes out for maybe economic reasons. So I asked Billy in our transportation department to work with providers to develop a pilot program for the scooters, for the motorized scooters. There's been a lot of participation back and forth, but I wanted everybody to have a full understanding of what this pilot entails. So, Billy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. As you probably remember, during the last legislative session, the legislature allowed scooter share to be regulated in the state of Florida by cities. And because we'd had good success working with the bike share companies and doing our due diligence for the bike share, and we feel like that was a successful project in working with the bike share companies. They've been very responsive to concerns and also about safety. So we took the same approach, reached back out to the companies that we've worked with before. Actually, we're contacted by a number of scooter share companies, probably over 15 companies and their representatives, and we've sent them the draft ordinance. We've made changes as a result of their feedback, and so today I'm providing a review of our draft as a result of those discussions. So I'm going to share just briefly with you the ridership that we've had on the dockless bike share, talk about the e-scooters and our goals for the city, and then just highlight some of the points for the ordinance as far as an overview is concerned. You can see here that we've averaged about 30,000 rides a month with Lime, about 1,600 with Hopper. That's monthly. When we had the juice bike share, the dock bike share, we had about 30,000 in the entire year. So there's a significant increase in demand. It's been a very, very popular option for people who would otherwise drive. And so theoretically, this reduces car trips within the city by over 30,000 a month. So talking about the scooters, we looked at a number of other cities within the region to see what they were doing. And you can see here the population of those regions. Obviously, the city of Orlando is much smaller. Our downtown's much smaller than Tampa and Miami. And the demand has not been as high as it would likely be in a city like Miami or Tampa. And you can see that we made some changes from the bike share. Our application fee is only $5,000, and we're charging 25 cents a ride Our philosophy on that was that to create a lower barrier of entry for companies trying to launch scooter share by not having such a high permit fee to start with. If they're successful, they'll make money and they'll be able to stay in business, and so that was the route that we took. And likewise, not sure what the other cities do, but all the funds that we capture will be put into a cost center, or we'll be using that specifically to benefit micromobility devices and people riding bikes, both from a safety and from a facility standpoint. So we'll be working on implementing those this coming year. Our number one goal is safety, and I've shared that with all of the companies that we've talked to, and we're going to be promoting scooter and bike safety more proactively in terms of providing safety courses. We're also going to work with Orlando Health and Advent Health to monitor the emergency room visits. One of the concerns has been the University of Texas report that showed half of the first users were experiencing crashes. And so part of the reason that we want the safety education is to try to capture the first users and get them educated before they jump on a scooter. We'll also be at least doubling the number of parking areas in the downtown, and we're going to look to secure scooter docking stations to help with managing them as well. And then all the companies will be working with us to provide reports on the pilot status during this year. In the overview, we show an initial fleet, a minimum fleet of 200 and a maximum of 400. As you can see, we want a maximum of 80% of the fleet in the downtown CRA. That's where most people are using them based on our experience. With 60% east of I-4 and 20% west of I-4, we want to make sure that we're giving the citizens, our citizens in Paramore, the opportunity to have access to them. And then the remaining 20% can be outside the CRA. Because of the experience that we've had with the dockless bike share, we've identified some staging areas that are exclusionary, and because this is a pilot, we have the ability to add others. It will only take, we've told the companies they have 24 hours to geofence the areas that we don't want scooters staged in. So we'll be monitoring that based on feedback from the residents in those neighborhoods. I mentioned safety training. We're requiring each of the providers to hold 6 safety training classes. They have to document and report that attendance, and we've actually been working with them on a scooter safety training course. In terms of rebalancing, we want them removed between Robinson and South Street by 6 p.m. because of all the people that come into the downtown on those evenings. We want to make sure the walkways are clear. And they're expected to rebalance bikes when we call them within 2 hours, and this is 24/7. As far as the operations are concerned, they do have the ability to geofence the no parking. We've had success with that, and again, I said 24 hours they have to do that. We had a shorter time period. We adjusted that to 24 hours to accommodate them. One of the things that's been a concern from the companies is that we've put a maximum scooter speed at 10 miles an hour on these. The vast majority of these stand-up scooters are going to be ridden on the sidewalks. We do have sidewalks that are irregular in the downtown, and we want to make sure that the riders are safe. And keep in mind, this is about 3 times the speed of a person walking as it is. And since the average trip on our bike share has been a half a mile or 6 minutes, the difference between 10 and 15 miles an hour should not be a significant deterrence to people riding. They're still going to ride because they don't want to walk. So that's something that we've held fast on. And then we expect the micromobility companies to provide the data in a format that's specified by the city, and we're using a format similar to what other cities are using in terms of the data that we get. And with that, questions or thoughts?
Okay, Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Sheehan, then Commissioner Stewart, then Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start with the speed. Those motors, after a while, they kind of die down pretty quick, and it's hard to keep up, and those things drop from 10 miles to 7, maybe less. So why not just bring them up to 15 at least? And I get what you were saying about the safety issue, but 15 miles is not, I mean, I think back in the days when I could run up to 15 miles an hour. I don't know if that's something that we should probably take a look and see.
Well, we can certainly look at that outside of the downtown, Commissioner, where most of the scooters are located in the downtown. That's why.
Because you know, this millennials, they want to get to point A to point B, and I understand also, and when I think, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think 50 miles an hour shouldn't be that bad. The 25 cents, is that per minute?
No, that's per ride. It's per ride. The average we've been told is 15 cents per ride across the country. We haven't received data from every company, but we're talking about 10 cents per more, and we're using all the funds on infrastructure and.
But I used one in Washington, D.C., which I was disappointed because they have them all thrown out all over. Are these scooters going to be standing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I saw your parking spots there. They're pretty cool on the side of the sidewalk. But they were charging, I think it was per minute. You pay an initial $1 for to rent the scooter, and after that it was like 25 cents or something per minute.
And they all charge per minute.
Exactly. So this is going to be
per ride.
Initial $1 and then just 25 cents per ride.
It's 25 cents per ride is what we're asking for.
I know. I understand. It's
that
just
comes
that
to the city.
Okay. I think that's pretty cheap. Okay. I thought it was per minute. It was a mistake.
Sir,
okay. So
per
you're
ride.
right. Okay. I'm not going to argue that one then. And then I know this is a pilot program, and the initial application allows you for 200, and then after 4 months, you can come back and ask for 200 more.
Correct.
For a total of 400.
Correct.
We're capping this at 1,800 for the whole city.
Correct.
Don't you think that's? And then again, I don't expect us to go crazy, looking for these things all over the place. But if we're going to be requesting no more than 400 per company, do we have to put a cap on this?
Well, here's the way we approach this. We have 2 bike share companies. We had more than 2 bike share companies apply for permits. We approved permits. Only 2 of them actually delivered bikes. Okay. We have 600 bikes under the current system. So if we have 6 or 8 dockless scooter companies coming in, we felt like we had to have some ability to manage them until we saw that each of the scooter share companies would manage them well in the way that we want them to manage them.
So this can be reevaluated after the year.
Yes, actually in less than a year. The way we structured this pilot program, let's say we only end up with 3 companies, then ideally we could allow each company to go up to 600, and that's something I can approve without coming back to council.
And I was going to make a comment, an unsolicited comment. The difference between the lime and the hopper is the color. That's why they're not being rented as much. That blue color is not as attractive as that lime color.
I think it has to do with I think it has to do with the electric assist.
That's all right. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Bill. Great job. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Sheehan?
Okay, I've had a little less, I've had some problems in my district with these, so I just want to get some things clear. If you're talking about the emergency room visits, you're talking about the people who are renting them. What if they hit somebody? That's my major concern, because I got seniors that are walking through downtown. That's the only way they can get around. They're very concerned about, the bikes sharing the sidewalks as it is, and now you got these scooters, and they're really, really concerned about getting injured.
Of course.
So, does the scooter insurance cover someone, a person on a scooter hits?
They are required to have liability insurance, and so I would think that they would have to have.
Well, I want to know that for sure.
I'll verify that.
That the insurance covers not just the person riding the scooter, but if they harm someone. And they can do some pretty substantial, damage to a senior. I mean, as we get older, our bones get more brittle, and I understand them being, concerned.
Sure.
So that I really want to know that. And about the exclusion areas, I want to make sure that they don't, again, when the line bugs came out, the first thing they did was park them right in front of the You Matter mural, which is a very sensitive area. I don't want them on the Colonial Town Labyrinth. I would like to see some other, I don't want to see them around Pulse. I mean, I think there needs to be a level of sensitivity just because those are areas that people congregate at, that's sacred ground, and they don't need to be parking these things all over there trying to just get some, marketing for their, at the expense of the community's feelings.
And they
I think
are
that
excluded from those areas already.
Okay, thank you. And then, again, my biggest concern is that they're blocking handicap ramps. And that's been a real problem in my district. It's been a real problem in neighborhoods. And, they don't come get them within the 2 hours. I've called myself on them. So I don't know, I don't know how we're going to deal with that. They've gotten better as time goes on, but they're still blocking those accessibility ramps, and I just think that's wrong. So anyway, those are the concerns that I have about it. I'm not terribly thrilled with them because I don't see that level of, and I understand this is another preemption from the legislature because, we have to jump whenever they say we can't do anything, but to regulate safety in our community. But I just am concerned about public safety. I'm usually interested in cool stuff, but I don't want it happening at the expense of someone else's personal safety.
Agreed. Understood.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few questions. Kind of concerned. Did I hear you say that these are allowed on the sidewalks?
The stand-up scooters are allowed on the sidewalk. We also have people who are advocating for sit-down scooters. And the sit-down scooters, the way we've got the ordinance worded, they have to operate in the street, and we don't limit the speed on those. So they can go as fast as 20.
I guess one of my concerns is somewhat similar to Commissioner Sheehan. In our downtown core and our central business district, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, and having a scooter going 15 miles an hour in pedestrian traffic is concerning.
That's why we limited it to 10.
I'm at 10. I'm sorry, I was listening to this guy talking about 15. I mean, 10 miles an hour. I mean, even a bicycle.
On the sidewalk. If
On
they're
the
in the
sidewalk.
street and they're the ones with the big wheels and the seats, they can go
sit down.
fast.
They can go fast.
Correct.
And we're just monitoring that. I mean, in other cities, they're allowed on the sidewalks also. Usually I see them in the roadway on the side of the road. So why are we doing sidewalks?
The stand-ups, well, the bicycles can ride on sidewalks. By Florida law, bicycles and scooters can ride on sidewalks. And of
so
course,
it's a law,
they're
okay.
supposed to be yielding to pedestrians. Of course, not everyone does that.
As someone who walks every day, they don't. Just saying.
Understood.
Sorry, Commissioner.
No. Is there an age requirement?
18 is the
18,
minimum.
okay. And then the safety meetings, of course.
Yes.
Is it going to be in, I saw it was 6 strategically. Are we going to do a meeting in each commissioner's district, or how they're going to set up
We'll
the
do
meetings?
them wherever the demand is. Obviously, closer to downtown would make the most sense, but as they expand, we know where they are, so we'll offer the training where the scooters are being staged.
And the line bite is really utilized a lot on the west side. I've seen them, some people use them as their primary mode of transportation.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that there's a couple, not just in the downtown Paramore corridor, but as we extend west, that we have that.
Yep.
The exclusionary areas, how far can they go?
We can put them wherever they are requested based on the number of complaints that we get.
That's all I have.
Billy, can you clarify one thing for me?
Sure.
I thought I understood this, but no, I'm not sure. The exclusionary area, you just can't stage them there. You can drive into them, and then the scooter company's got to come pick them up, and they can't remain there
Correct.
overnight.
But the
right?
companies cannot stage them there.
And
They
what are
have
we
to pick
calling
them up.
areas where you can't drive them at all?
Those are geofenced.
I'm just calling them geofence. So
Correct.
Lake Yola, for
Correct.
instance.
So when they're geofenced, the device will basically shut the system off so that they can't continue riding.
Oh.
If it's working properly, of course.
Okay, Commissioner Stewart.
Yeah, Bill, I feel a little bit like Pat. I've got a lot of concerns. So let me start with the easy one. This is a pilot program.
Yes, sir.
For how long?
For 1 year.
Okay, I read the ordinance and could not find it where it said 1 year. So would you, when you get a chance, pull it back out, and I'd like to look at it.
Sure.
I'd like to, I would not like, I don't want a year, I want a date certain, actually. We had this conversation earlier. The challenge I have is I didn't get back the data that was going on because I'm getting flack in the community, just like Patty is, and I'd like to have support data that says, yes, we are monitoring, yes, we are measuring it, and so I'd like a date certain. The second is when you begin to look at the pilot program, I'd like some goals determined for a level of success so we can determine whether it's going to be successful or not.
Okay.
If the idea is that we expect less than 50 injuries over the course of the next year, but we expect 400,000 rides, and that's acceptable to us,
Sure.
then let's have a measurement of what is successful, because it concerns me a great deal from that standpoint. Okay?
Yes.
So I don't think we can expect it to be the other way. Let me piggyback a little bit on Commissioner Sheehan's idea about the sidewalk and the insurance concern. You're familiar with the state law that says that if I play golf at Dubstred and I hit a ball into private property, I, as a golfer, am required to cover that cost, not the City of Orlando, even though it's a City of Orlando course. And you're also familiar with the fact that we have spent $25,000 to $30,000 a year paying for windows around Dubstred, where we should never have done that. Okay? So now the same thing applies here. Somebody hits somebody and takes off. All we know, the person who hits, all they know is somebody's going to try and run them down, which is good luck, or they know what color it was. I'd like to find out through your channels, can you determine electronically where that device was? What device was a GPS at that location at that time, so they, not us, but they can go after those that are violators. Because that's a big concern of mine. I think Patty's is exactly on point. It's not good enough to have insurance coverage if the guy's running away and you're never going to catch him. I appreciate the health side, looking at the health side to have a baseline, because if the idea is it doubles or triples or quadruples, we may end up coming back and saying, yeah, this is a cute idea, but not the safety risk of our citizens who are walking in downtown Orlando. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Let me go back to driving on sidewalks. Okay? I'm under the impression that people can drive on sidewalks unless we tell them they can't. Now,
by law, scooters and bicycles can operate on sidewalks by state law.
I'm trying to read through your ordinance, but I think your ordinance, what's said in here in terms of definitions, they can ride on sidewalks except in sections it is unlawful in a violation of this section to ride a bicycle, scooter on a sidewalk or bicycle path or any other portion where prohibited by clearly visible signs and markings.
Correct, just like in Lake Yola.
Right. So, what do you think is a clear, visible sign on a sidewalk along Orange Avenue? Because now all of a sudden, is that like a parking sign where it has to be every 200 feet, or is that an entry onto the location? I mean, because the fact of the matter is, if we start having issues with interference of pedestrians and scooters on Orange Avenue, we need to stop it. What does that look like? Is that a marking that's on the sidewalk that we put in? I mean, what is that we feel is fair and enforceable?
Well, I think there's more than one way to approach that. One would obviously be to have signs on the entrances to Orange Ave. The other would be to put it in the application that the companies provide that lets them know that they're not able to ride in those areas, and we could actually geofence. The difficulty with geofencing, we can't geofence the sidewalk from the street. They're in too close proximity. But if we wanted to geofence all of Orange Avenue or a portion of Orange Avenue, we could do that if necessary.
Can you geofence per vendor?
Yes. I mean, we would require them all to geofence the same areas.
Okay.
But yes, to answer your question, they all have the ability.
Is the geofencing graph, would that be available to us as well? So when
Yes.
somebody says this has happened, I'd like to know.
Yes, we have those diagrams for our current bike share system.
Because it seems to me that electronically, it may also be best to post it as a map on our GPS map location.
Sure, and we
So
can work, and we
because if
could
you
ask
get
the
a district
vendors to
map
do the same.
by neighborhood, you ought to be able to get a district
Sure.
map by geofencing, so that somebody can pull it up and say, hey, wait, you're not supposed to be over here, kind of thing. All right.
Sure. And going back to your two previous comments or questions, we will look at the liability requirements in your insurance policy. We have the policy now for Lyme. I would expect that it would cover people that are hit or property damage. But also, we will talk to them about the ability, if someone was hit and the scooter took off, would they be able to locate that user based on the time of rental and the corridor that they were in?
Yeah,
We'll ask that question. I'll get back with you.
Yeah, simply, if they can't do it,
Understood.
then $2 million is not enough. I want a $5 million to start off with, and I don't want 25,000. I want 100,000. I mean, I'm not the one making money on this thing. They are.
And the reason we reached out to Orange, to the two hospitals, is that is going to be our baseline, and the reason we did that was because of concern for safety. And if we see what seems to be an alarming number of injuries going into the emergency room, it will allow us to either make changes or shut things down, depending on.
And I agree with that. I mean, that's going to give us a short term.
Sure.
I'm hoping we're going to get some information back regularly, every 30 days or 45 days, so we can kind of say, here's where we are.
Yes.
And guys, let's take a quick look at it.
Yeah, and we've also responded to your requests. We have, in the customer service side of the reporting, they have to report complaints, not just from users, but other complaints as well, which we get copied in on all those when they go to the company.
I would like to see I know we're going to take some money coming in. I know some of that's designed to help monitor this, as well as help with sidewalk repair and those kind of things. I don't think it's going to be a ton of money, but I'd like to see some of that money being used to back and survey our citizenry. I've shared with the council, I've shared with Billy, is that we by accident put out a note to Baldwin Park saying, hey, please tell us what you think about bikes. And we got, within about 3 days, got 125 unsolicited responses effectively, not a survey form, but just what they thought. And about 70-75% were negative. So I'm not sure we're asking the community. We're getting a lot of response from people who like to ride the bikes, thinks it's cute, they can move around, and that's great. But there's also a lot of taxpayers that don't think it's a good idea.
Sure.
A couple of last quick questions, and I'll shut up. What's a consumer service activity?
Those are complaints, basically, and it's detailed in there what we're looking for from them. It basically is if there's complaints relative to the performance of the device, or they're being left in the wrong place, things of that nature.
All right, so
And
when I
we'll
look at
spell
your
that
graph,
out in the permit. We'll be spelling that out in the permit.
yeah, so this Lyme activity here is not hours of activity, it's a single activity that somebody had a complaint about of some sort.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So when I look through your list, it quadruples in 1 month, but there wasn't a quadrupling of the rides that were there.
I saw that.
Well, what happened?
Not sure. We'll find
Okay.
out.
All right, because I mean, I'm assuming that people were complaining all along, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a 4 times. Now, it's not a lot. I mean, it's 200 versus 54.
Correct.
What do we estimate the amount of money to come in if we were at normal capacity?
Well, if we end up with 30,000 rides a month like we have now, it'd be about 90,000 a year.
Okay, not including the 5,000 and the other stuff that came
Not
in?
including that, right. Depends on the number of vendors.
Okay, so it's enough to be able to
do some
something
meaningful
with.
things. Yes, sir.
And then the last question I want to ask you is on the scooter staging exclusion area.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got the downtown core.
Yep.
Am I reading this correctly? Am I assuming that somebody could stage up and down Edgewater Drive?
Yes.
One time we talked in terms of pilot that we would have a certain speed in the downtown core because that's where the emphasis that we wanted. Then when they went outside of the downtown core, we could regulate out by geofencing a reduction of speed. But the idea being we wanted to keep them in downtown Orlando. That's what the goal is.
No, not
So-
necessarily. I mean, the scooter companies are going to go wherever there's demand. So, for example, I would expect you'd see them in Baldwin Park because there might be demand there. And they can stage anywhere that's not in an exclusion area unless we add additional exclusion areas, which
Well,
we can
you've
in
added
fact
the
do.
entire eastern side of Edgewater Drive as an exclusion area, and you've done nothing on the western side. Are you angry with the guys on the west side of Edgewater?
I'll have to go back and check. I mean, we did this based on complaints, so I'll have to go back and verify why that is.
So the assumption would be that, I mean, I would assume as this goes forward, you can get with us and we'll talk to you about what's the residential areas, because you've, I mean, arbitrarily picked some areas that.
I don't think they're arbitrary. It may have come from the Main Street organization, more than likely.
Commissioner, it looks to me like, and maybe my eyesight's a little better than yours today, but it looks to me like that exclusionary area, and I may be wrong, Billy, but it looks like it's Edgewater on both sides, but like 100 yards off of Edgewater,
That
or
could
maybe
be.
the next street over.
That could be. I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, no, you clearly have not excluded Edgewater. Look to the left of Edgewater Drive, though. Mayor.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
I thought you were thinking that the east side of Edgewater was totally an exclusionary area, and I don't think it is.
It's generally, yeah.
Because I know there's bike parking areas in front of Publix and.
Oh, yeah, no, I think Edgewater Drive, I mean, but I was concerned about the residential side on the east side, but not the residential side on the west side.
And
It's
I
not there.
think what that does is it starts just beyond the commercial part of it.
I'll
right
get with the
behind
commissioner.
Publix.
I mean, up and down Edgewater Drive and be able to drive into their, to take it to my house makes a lot of sense. We're not doing that, but somebody's not going to come out at the corner of Neptune and Paramore and drop 3 of the scooters there to stage, because that's not included on this drawing.
That's what I'll have to get with you on, Commissioner.
So, I'd like, when you get this back to us, if you would, I'd love to be able to see, because Orlando's city limits are so crazy, okay? There's a lot of insets of county here that we don't have a control on. So the idea is that somebody actually could drive through a neighborhood and go to a place like Tangelo Park and drop them off all day, and there's nothing we can do about it. They got them in downtown Orlando, but they're dropping them off in Orange County.
Gotcha.
So I don't know whether the county stands on this. I think they're probably just going to punt the whole issue.
They haven't dealt with it yet. I was
Yeah.
talking to them.
But I'd
this
like to
morning.
see that, to see if there's ways that we can help do some regulation from that standpoint. We shouldn't punish those neighbors that are outside of that area.
Sure.
Is that enough for a while? You should have given it to us in advance. I read it. Now you got a problem. Thank you, Billy. I appreciate it. I think we're moving in the right direction. I just want to make sure that we're offering the protections on behalf of the citizens.
Absolutely.
One guy that gets hit, falls down, hits his head, and dies, we stop everything, because it's just not fair to put that risk in for somebody's safety or somebody's convenience to go, 3/10 of a mile.
Agreed.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Ings?
Thank you, Mayor. Billy, why 25 cents and not 50 cents or $1 on the per ride fee?
Well, we wanted to provide adequate funding so that we could do something meaningful with the funds, and we figured a dime more per ride was not a big hit. All of the companies are going to have to pay the same. It's not like they're going to compete with Tampa or some other city. I mean, it's a captive audience, and we felt like a dime more would allow us to do some meaningful things to provide support to these systems by providing docking stations, providing safety education, making improvements that would benefit all of them.
Okay. And then the expansion. So this is obviously able to go into iDrive. Have they been looking at iDrive as a possible area?
It's based on demand. If the industry decides that there's a demand out there, then they'll be putting them out there in the city limits.
No one has spoken about that?
No, sir. No one's requested to put them out there.
Okay, and then I really want to say the ordinance itself, you guys did a great job. Legal did a great job of putting it together. It's rock solid, and it's very thorough too.
Thank you.
You guys have done a great job with that.
Yeah, and going back to your question about the per ride fee, again, we wanted to lower the entry fee to give companies the opportunity to succeed based on their success. If they have a lot of rides, then they'll capture more funding, and we will too, rather than just put a application fee that was as high as some of the other cities have.
Okay. Now, I was looking at the ordinance, paragraph G, where it talks about motorized scooters, and it says, which cannot attain a speed of more than 20 miles per hour, but we have a max speed at 10 miles per hour.
For the sidewalks, yes, they can govern these, all these devices can be governed, their speed can be governed, and they have the ability to do that, the companies do. So all of the scooters that will be used predominantly on sidewalks are going to be governed at 10 miles an hour.
At 10. So they can, on the street, go up to 20 miles.
The ones that are sit down can go up to 20, yes.
And the hours that are limited for Friday and Saturday in downtown, after 6 p.m., they can't be in the area?
Pardon?
The scooters
They can't be in the area because of the amount of pedestrian traffic that we have on the weekends in downtown.
Okay, so Monday through Thursday is unlimited hours?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And because this is a pilot, anything that we have concerns about as we go throughout this year, I can make changes without having to come back to council.
What do you anticipate that might be a serious problem?
What do I anticipate that might be a serious problem? I mean, I'm always concerned when you have vehicles mixing with pedestrians. That would be my biggest concern, very, very much along the lines of Commissioner Sheehan, which is why we chose to govern them down to 10. Because while we can put laws in place, people can still behave outside the law, as you know, being a former police officer, and so that's a big concern. Obviously, there are going to be people that are concerned about them being left, but initially we had a lot of complaints about where bikes were being left, and that wound down after a while as we started to make some changes. So those are the things that I would expect are going to be issues.
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Sheehan, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Commissioner Stewart brought up a couple things that I wanted to follow up on, and he was asking about why the number of complaints quadrupled. I think it's because, Jessica and I were dealing with so many of the complaints, we finally let them know how to complain to the companies because it was not listed on that bike. So they were calling the city to find out how to get the bike out of their front yard or whatever, and then we finally required them to put the 800 number on the bikes, and they need to be on these scooters as well.
And it will be, Commissioner. It will be on the scooters as well.
And do these things have horns so they can notify people when they're coming up on them?
The bicyclists are required to do the same thing, and they don't do it. I mean, but
that's the thing.
Practice.
And I walk 4 to 7 miles every day, as you know, and the bicyclists are supposed to let me know when they're behind. Some of them do and some of them don't, but at least I want the option. If a scooter's coming up behind me at 10 miles an hour, they need to let me know they're back there.
Sure. And that's part of what we can include in the education requirements.
Do they have horns on them, these scooters, though?
They do not have horns, no.
Oh.
Neither do the bikes. The bikes do have bells.
But they have a warning mechanism.
If it's used, it's there.
So these scooters have no warning mechanism to let people...
Well, I don't know all the scooter companies because we've got companies that have only reached out to us on the phone. I don't know if all of them don't have bells or if it's just some.
Why don't you investigate that as an option between now and next reading?
I can follow up on that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mayor, I got 2 other quick questions.
Okay.
This ordinance also applies to people with personal vehicles, personal scooters.
This does not apply to people who have personal scooters. That's covered by state law.
So what?
This is
they're
only
covered
for
by
scooters,
state law?
only by scooter share companies. I'm sorry?
So I could ride a personal vehicle at 20 miles an hour down the sidewalk?
According to state law, you can, yes.
Okay. I thought there was only... Okay, so that's a concern. The next thing is that this is a 23-page ordinance, right? And of which a large portion of it is really designed around mobility devices.
Yes.
Where's the next step in terms of getting the information out on the webpage, a snapshot, bullet points? We would call them talking points for us, but I'm thinking something that's, we can point to somebody and say, look, here's this, we did that for the rental.
Yes.
We did it for a couple other things that was very successful.
Yep, and we're
From that
going to do
standpoint,
the
it
same
seemed
with
to work out
schoolers.
really well to give that choice. And then in that was the complaint mode. Here's the
Yes.
guys, and just be able to kind of do that instead of having to try to end up trying to digest this. I trust that you will do a
Understood.
fair job of that.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Further comment? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Billy. All right, that concludes the agenda portion of our city council meeting for today.